Again for your attention, and I think we're about to start the meal now, but before we do, we just have great for Canadian.
Lord God, for human beings, sharing in a meal is a great symbol and occasion for fellowship and joy. Already this evening you have given us great joy, and you're about to increase that joy in our fellowship with one another and in our sharing food and drink together. We ask you to give us your blessing on this meal.
Brothers, and as those who don't fit into either of those two categories, you better get a move on because your legs are a bit late. Joanne and I would very much like to welcome you all here this evening, and thank you so much for coming to this long, long overdue reunion. We're delighted that so many of you have responded so positively, and we urge you to exact every possible enjoyment from this evening, to circulate as much as possible after the meal, and we're going to try and speed through the speeches and entertainment in order to allow you to circulate again, and to seek to re-establish long dormant relationships. My personal experience is that one makes very few long-term, firm relationships or established relationships in life, and in the process of being in Melleray for quite a number of years, without the pressures of business or family or other activities, one does make those relationships which we often allow to go dormant in later years. So I strongly feel that there is an opportunity for us this evening to rejuvenate some of those relationships. I can't say much more than that because Paul Bonaventure stole some of the nice things I had to say there, but that is short in my speech. I'd be greatly used to note that so many of you who were tall and daunting 20, 25 years ago when I was a tiny chap are not nearly so towering or daunting right now, except in McGillicuddy who still maintain their stature. Yeah.
And I did notice that many of you have invested substantial amounts in developing a more rounded corporate profile.
Thank you.
If I may just welcome or single out a few of our guests this evening for special mention, I'd particularly like to applaud two individuals, two gentlemen who travelled more than the rest of us put together to get here. I speak, of course, of Tim Robbins and Neil Cohan. Stand up, chaps. Tim came from very close to the North Pole, over 7,000 miles, and Neil came from Los Angeles, over 5,000 miles. So, well done, thank you very much indeed. We have a spirited touring party from the UK and North Ireland from where this event, as you know, was organised. And indeed, one of our most eminent colleagues was sceptical of the fact that a reunion could be organised in the UK, and travelled of his own volition to see if we were for real. I speak, of course, of Dan Deneen's famous trip to London. He left us all dishevelled, tattered, but nevertheless, we still admire his stamina. Could I possibly have a show of hands in the UK contingent as a matter of interest? Oh, quite well. There's two reasons for that request. One is so that those sitting close by to them take note that they come from the UK because they'll be keen to share their duty free later on. And secondly, of course, we hope to organise a follow-up event in the UK later or earlier sometime next year when many of our clerical colleagues will be able to attend. I'm delighted to welcome also on behalf of our former teachers who have attended this evening and who unquestionably shaped or reshaped in many cases and influenced our careers and attitudes. Often without assistance. The big advantage, of course, this evening is that we all know who you are,
but we can only represent the most a distant nightmare to you. Finally, I am very pleased to welcome to the community this evening Paul Bonaventure and Cornelius, who are both deans at Melleray. We're delighted that you're looking so well and fresh, and we wonder what the formula is, because I'm sure a lot of people out there are looking for it. And we would ask you to take back our best regards to your fellow community members who are active in college life. Presently, I can only speak for the reign of Father Cornelius, and I know that I speak for many of you when I say that his particular style, which embodies a professional, interested, disciplined, yet fully committed approach, created an ethos within the school which sought and demanded the highest standards through all endeavour. I'm convinced that many of you successful businessmen got your first management lesson in Melleray from Father Cornelius and remain committed to what is elaborately termed by management gurus as pursuit of excellence. Brian and I would also like to thank Father Cornelius for your willing support of this project, the provision of the original list of names, and of course the array of photographs which are going to be displayed later. Indeed, your deep interest ensures that we could not slacken in our efforts to muster the truth. My role this evening is essentially to welcome you to the reunion, to introduce our various speakers, and to brief you on the housekeeping arrangements. One of the more important of which is to urge you to wear your labels. I'm sure all your jackets are discarded at this stage and you're concerned about your labels. But as you recirculate later, it will be important to re-badge and kind of re-tag. Is that the right word, John? So without further ado, I would like to call Father Cornelius to address us on behalf of the community.
Right 100 times. Stay out for the film. Well, because of all these things, I was a little bit apprehensive about the job ahead of me this evening, but very, very quickly I got a taste of the atmosphere that's here, and the credit to you, and I thank you very much. Now, one thing I'd like to say at the start is that I've been asked to take back the greetings and goodwill of the meeting to the community. Ideally, all who are concerned with teaching, etc., should be here. But when the abbot heard when I listed out the whole lot, he said, since the role that the choir fell out of existence Saturday night because of this passive union. So simple logistics mean that all could not attend, unfortunately. But however, I will take back your good wishes. Now, as well as your goodwill and the fine spirit that's here, what impresses me most is the role of time. Time is rolling out for all of us. And it's fascinating to see that all of you practically have reached the same age that I was at when I left you. That gives me a certain secret pleasure. Now we certainly are on one level. See up there and send down there. We're on the same level. And even more than that, my pleasure lies in the fact that now most of you are fathers, and a lot of you are teachers, so you too are authority figures, and you know what it's like from the other side. The role of time, I left you my early 40s, and you're the early 40s now, aren't you? And I would say this to you, that although I liked the school very much, and you did tremendous lot for me, you educated me too, I really mean that. It was fascinating to be in such close contact with so many different types and so many interesting types and study the human animal. So But although I liked it and I certainly benefited a lot from it, I thought that life does begin at 40, and that I really felt a certain liberation starting off anew before it's too late. And in case you're thinking, was he ever able to survive it? I certainly found that, although I liked school, that I was well able to sort of pass on to something else. Now, as I look back over the time at the school, many memories come back, and they've been renewed here tonight. Most people that have been speaking to me have been speaking about the basketball team. Almost every second person seems to have been on the basketball team or other. And it's good to see that memories are so strong on that subject. You also had a rugby team, which the teachers did a lot to help, and later on there was a football team, a football team. And Pat will single out for special mention those basketball teams that made their name. But I'd like to also underline the achievements of the debating teams that we had. Mr. Roderick managed the debating team that won the Munster final. So I would ask the members of that team who are all present to stand up and take a bow. That's Leo Martin, Brian Carney, and Tony Murphy.
Very sad, this thing was one of the memories I have of it is taking you up to the door of the big dormitory and getting you to test throwing your voice so that you reach the other end of the dormitory. Somebody would say that I had good practice with that. Time rolls on, and thanks be to God, I'm in good health. But when I look at the professors, the teachers here, it's marvelous to see that they are in such good form. It's nearly 25 years now since they were with you back in Melleray, 25 years anyhow. And we're very glad that they're here. I'd repeat what Kat said about the fact that there's been such a great response to this among you all, such a great spirit. Could I make, I'll keep in mind those time, so I'm coming near the end now. Could I make a suggestion that there's palpably great energy and great good and great communication here present tonight. Now, it's good that it exists on a night like this, but it would be good if there could be a focus found for that would help preserve it. It's hard to, that would need some thinking out, but I could suggest perhaps what I mean, what we talked with Pat Gleeson and Brian Conlon about it, is that if there are any among the past students who are in trouble, who are in need of a helping hand, there certainly is enough goodwill, etc. here to hope us, so that could just put it as a thought to you, could you think of means whereby the immense power there is in a group like this could be made available for people who need a helping hand, who were your peers and who were your fellows during this period, your student period of your life. I think it will be worthwhile, and many of you can think perhaps of people. I just mentioned one man who is very ill and possibly dying, that's Tom Hunter. There is a question of isolation and of, loneliness in a situation like that. Is there any reason by which a group like this could think of some way in which to help in a case like that? I'm sure there is. Another focus that could be put on is that here are people that know each other, that trust each other, that have great goodwill to each other. I don't think you should be shy. You're working in the world and you're working in business. That you use your contacts, etc. here on the realm of, say, the business level, so that you establish contacts and you meet one another, and that you're in contact with people that you know and you trust. That is something I don't think it's out of order to mention that. That is normal, and there's nothing reprehensible in that. It's above board. It's an exercise of trust, help, and comradeship. So, at the time we're allotted to 7 minutes, I possibly am a little bit over it already. I just finish by saying most sincerely that I am surprised, really, and delighted with the spirit and the atmosphere that's here, and long may it live, and I hope that it's only the beginning of something that will be an established factor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father. I think, certainly Brian and I know many of you here fully endorse what you have just outlined, and I know that it will be some time for a focused element for it to sink in and perhaps come through. But I will say you have tremendous influence on our lives, and it looks like it's going to continue to be a wonderful influence in our lives. Before I just I'm going to shop positions very quickly here. We had quite a positive response from many priests who are now dispersed throughout the UK and the US in wishing us very well and hoping to be here. But sadly, they're so dispersed all over the states of the US and all over the northeast coast of England and of course in the north of Ireland. So it's very difficult for them to get cover. And we've had lots of letters wishing us well, and I'm just extending their very good wishes, and all have promised to include you in their masses. So the last point I would say about that, Father Tom Hunter is up in North Ormondby, I can assure you it's a fairly tough country up there, and it's a sad place to be if you're on your own, or a tough place to be if you're on your own. So do bear it in your mind. And really it's only a piece of communication. A telephone call or 4 lines in a letter can have a dramatic influence on somebody who's probably focusing on ill health and the short-term future. So that's one thing we could do this evening. One positive note to bring us back around again, I would like to call on Mr. Joe Finn, captain of the winning Munster team, Munster basketball team of 1966, and ask Joe and the famous McCarthy brothers, Jimmy Rourke, to stand up and take a bow. I would also like to ask Joe to come please and make a presentation to Father Cornelius from all of us here, a small donation of our appreciation, or a small presentation of our appreciation to Father Cornelius. Thank you, Joe. Do you have to talk here, Joe?
Father Cornelius was talking about the public speakers, debating team, and the eloquence and so on. I really think it's the likes of Joe Cogan or some of the people who were recognised speakers when we were in Melleray. Pat Leeson landed me. He caught me unawares last night. But I think what's been serious, thinking back on the years we were in Melleray, and I suppose the commitment that Father Cornelius showed with really a bunch of very small, indisciplined 10 or 12 basketballers. I went to Melleray first in 1962-63, and the 6th year of that particular year, Tom Crowley, they were the basketballers. We were really only copycats. We copied them, and we were successful in 1967, I think. But really the man who instilled the success was Father Cornelius. And I think every one of us that were involved in the basketball team, maybe we weren't almighty successful in business or whatever, but whatever we did, I think we did it with commitment. And I think that we brought from Father Cornelius. Thank you very much.
To represent our teachers this evening, I'm delighted to call on a gentleman who undoubtedly has the respect of all who studied physics and chemistry, and even those who didn't. Again, I believe that Oliver and many of his colleagues embodied that spirit of professionalism and commitment to which I earlier alluded. Mr. Oliver Broderick.